So we're going back into the backstage personnel, and you've mentioned that Pam left, and also Brian and you had a bit of a fallout. I don't know if they're mutually exclusive, but I don't know the story. So tell me from the beginning.
Okay, so and I just want to mention this because I felt like word had gotten out. Brian has, well, he's almost been canonized since he passed away, and Brian was an amazing guy, huge wrestling fan, wanted in so bad, and worked so hard over the years trying to get a spot in a promotion. Um, and then he saw me the same way, like, oh, I just want in, and he took me under his wing. He helped bring me in. He and Tracy introduced me to everybody and helped bring me in. So we had this falling out, which was unfortunate because I felt like I didn't start any of this. But the first thing, Jimmy Del Rey loved to rib Brian because Brian was so sweet and nice and authentic. He couldn't take a rib because he didn't like compute like you're not being serious and honest with me. Like he's such a good guy. So I drive Jimmy home to Tampa one weekend, and we go down, play golf, hang out with his wife. We come back, simple little weekend. Brian says, "How was Tampa?" Jimmy starts in on him. Man, it was great. Kevin Sullivan called, said, "Come over to the house. Hogan and Knobs are coming over. The boys are going to have a cookout." And you can see Brian just looking at me. He's like, "Oh, we had this great weekend. We went out on Hogan's boat." And he's looking at me with envy, just steaming. I'm not even saying anything. I'm just standing in Del Rey's, just giving it to him. And so Brian's all jealous. And now he starts to give me the side eye. A little while later, we're going to ride to a town with Jim Cornette one night. Brian comes to me. He's like, "Hey, Jimmy's got a whole bunch of new jobs for us. This is so exciting." He's all excited like a little kid, oh, with new jobs, new jobs. When we met Jimmy to go to shows, either Cornette drove or he'd say, "Brian, drive. I got to do some paperwork." I sat in the back seat with Del Rey. This time we show up. Jimmy says, "Casey, you sit up front, drive." I'm the new kid. Okay. I'm just driving. The whole way up to this town, Brian's pestering Jimmy. "What are new jobs? What are new jobs?" And finally, Jimmy's like, "All right, Casey, you're going to do this and this and this. These are your new responsibilities, this and this." And Brian says, "Hey, what about me, Jimmy?" And Jimmy's like, "Well, Brian, I mean, you're referee." And he says, "Well, do you want me to help with programs or anything like?" "Well, Brian," and this is where Jimmy just dumped a ton of heat. "Brian, you're not a good speller. Casey can write and spell," because I'd been writing for newsletters and things. And so all of a sudden, just dumped more heat on me. Now Brian's starting to resent bringing this kid in because this kid's getting all the opportunities he wanted. Something else happened, and he hollered, just dressed me down one night in the back hallway at Morristown. "Oh, you're just the golden boy now." So Terry Funk comes in. This is when the final blow up happened. So Brian's kind of like almost regretting bringing me in and I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just trying to do my job. Terry Funk comes in. Brian says, "Hey, take my camera tonight. I want you to get some good pictures from Knoxville. Use my camera." Okay, great. So we go. Well, I'm sure, heard the story of Terry depantsing Jimmy in the Memphis studios, right? As a
Hmm?
kid, Terry likes to rip people's pants off. Well, he'd also done the same to Brian one night when Brian was a manager. He stripped him down. Unbeknownst to me, Brian has prepared a rib with Terry Funk. "Casey's taking pictures at ringside tonight. Get him." That's all you have to say to Terry. Now, I've met Terry. We've had dinner several times. He'd been in and out. So, okay, so I'm standing there. Terry comes after me, unbeknownst to me. But, all of a sudden he starts coming towards me. I'm backing up. And then he has the look. Oh, shit. I'm thinking, oh, shit. Well, of course, my first instinct is to run. And I'm a young man, James. I'm saving on the laundry bill. So I'm kind of going commando. So if I lose my pants in front of Knoxville, I'm showing the goods to 4,000 people in Knoxville. So I'm running from Terry. He grabs me. I pull back. We have those old barricade, those rails, look
Yeah.
like bike rails. I go ass over tea kettle. Brian's camera is around my neck, hits the floor, shatters. And I scramble to the back. So then Brian comes to me, "You broke my camera. You broke my camera." And I'm like, "Hey, I didn't mean to." And so that was this huge falling out between just the heat of Del Rey stirring up Brian, that Casey's getting all these opportunities and you're not. And then Brian, putting his rib on me with Terry and getting his camera broken, like the rib backfired on him. I didn't have $300 to fix his camera. So it just fell apart. And then Brian and I were no longer, I was no longer under his wing. we had this huge falling out, and it was really unfortunate. And because he'd been so good to me, and he's such a good person, and so we didn't speak for years. I mean, after I left, we didn't talk for a long, long, long time. And finally, I heard he was getting sick. He was working in Atlanta, working for WCW. I heard, he was getting sick. It was getting worse. I had a good relationship with his wife. So I call his wife every now and then. I'm like, how's he doing? And she would tell me, and I finally said, do you think if I tried to talk to him, we could kind of mend fences and I could explain? It's, some years have gone by. She's like, I think he'd really like that. So the summer before he passed, he passed in September of '99. I picked up the phone and called him, and I just opened up and I just said, man, I'm so sorry. I didn't instigate any of that heat. I wasn't trying to do anything, and I'm so sorry. And we had a clearing of the air, and we talked a whole bunch, to the point where he was coming to my wedding in September of '99, and he passed away literally the Saturday before my wedding. He didn't make it. But so we finally cleared up the air, but that was a fallout. And I went into service and I spoke and I said what I could. But that's how crazy the wrestling business is. Like, one minute some guy's your best friend, then somebody over here is stirring up stuff, and then you're not even friends anymore for no reason, for something you didn't even mean to do. And but Brian was he was everything people have said afterwards. He was a jack of all trades. After I left, he picked up the merchandise slack from Horner, but he couldn't do all the jobs I was doing, not because he couldn't spell. Brian, what people don't know is Brian had a day job, or a night job, actually. I'm sorry. He would drive down to this outlet mall and at the shoe outlet mall and stock shoes all night. I mean, he would leave about dinner time, the nights we didn't have shows, like the Tuesdays, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. He'd leave about 5 or 6, drive an hour down to this outlet mall, and he'd stock shoes till 6 or 7 in the morning. So he's sleeping all day. So there's no way he could be running to towns, delivering press kits and all that stuff I was doing. He just, same reason Tommy Noe and some of these other guys couldn't do anything. So that's why I had this job and I was just getting buried with work, but Brian couldn't help out. But Brian was a wonderful person. Think about him all the time. I still have my Curtis Goes Home souvenir T-shirt. And yeah, I mean, he's just one of those guys you always think of. And unfortunately that happened.
Yeah, I will end this on a slightly sillier story, so we're not on a downer. Were you a fan of the Ninja Turtle gimmick?
Sure, why not? Why not? I tell you what, I mean, he had the kung fu stuff down. He knew how to do it, and it got to the kids. It brought the kids to the railing, and that was the whole point.